Key of Fortune. I reached out to my Sir Spotty body pillow, but it wasn't there. I shook my dizzy head and sat up on my bed, trying to remember what had happened last night. I had been chased by a strange masked person on my way to the supermarket. The man seemed determined to kill me. I finally got away thanks to a landslide just off the road. I was completely exhausted when I came back and fell asleep as soon as my head touched the pillow. However, this was clearly not my own room. I sat up. The floating dust made me sneeze a few times. I turned around and saw that there was a clearly human-shaped mark on the old sofa bed. The rest of it was all covered with dust. Some of the furniture was covered with cloth and messily arranged in a corner. There were no windows in the room, only a locked gate. I appeared to be in a warehouse. The only source of light was a dim desk lamp on a wooden table that had one leg shorter than the others. There was also an hourglass and a used syringe on the uneven tabletop. A note was placed under the hourglass. "You were pretty lucky yesterday, but can you still find the key to your fortune today? This time the game is timed, so please be aware of your time limit. If it's game over for you, I'll be very sad." Oh god, that just sounds like Jimmy again. Jimmy met his soulmate. The note was signed with a smiley face. Smiley face? No, this was not just a smiley face. This was Pi? The infamous psycho serial killer Pi. 2 years ago, an extremely bizarre murder case had taken over the news for a while. A 30-something-year-old man died in the bathtub of his own house. To be more accurate, he didn't die there. His body was placed there. All 24 pieces of it, each of them meticulously sliced. The blood had been drained and the entire bathroom was totally spotless, as if it had just been cleaned by a specially trained crew. The only clue left at the scene was a smiley face drawn with a marker on one piece of his body. Even more bizarre, the man was a divorced father who had been living with his 10-year-old son. After his death, the son told the police that he had been abused by his father multiple times. In fact, he claimed that he remembered the exact number of times that it had happened. 24 times. Was it just a coincidence? Was this smiley face killer some kind of a vengeful angel of justice? Oh, he definitely is. The media started to spin the story, adding their own imagination and speculation. For a while, all kinds of articles about justice and evil were all over both legitimate and gossip newspapers alike. As the police were completely at a loss with the case, a similarly strange, yet wildly different case happened. A drug-addicted pop singer who was known for frequently abusing his girlfriend and causing multiple miscarriages was found dead in the backstage of the bar where he usually performed. The crime scene was very clean and showed no signs of a struggle. They were only able to identify traces of blood on the floor after using luminol. Luminol, C8H7N3O2, is a chemical that exhibits chemiluminescence with a blue glow when mixed with an appropriate oxidizing agent, usually a solution containing hydrogen peroxide, H2O2, and hydroxide ions in water is the activator that could activate luminol to exhibit its luminescence. When such a solution encounters blood, the iron present in hemoglobin functions as a catalyst which helps the hydrogen peroxide decompose to form oxygen and water. Oxygen then reacts with the luminol dianion, which is produced by luminol and hydroxide ion. The product of this final reaction is an unstable organic peroxide which emits the blue glow. Luminol solution is therefore often used in forensic investigation as it is sensitive to 1 ppm of blood, so blood stains that have been washed away can still be detected. By the way, the solution can also have the same reaction to urine and fecal matter as well. His vocal cords had been ripped away from his body. Meanwhile, a cassette tape was found beside the body. The tape was a recording of the singer's own voice, but completely off-key. A smiley face was drawn upon the tape. Afterwards, the police referred to the suspect with the codename Pi, because the smiley face looked a lot like the symbol pi if it was rotated. They tried to prevent all information regarding Pi from leaking, yet somehow the media kept finding more and more juicy stories. They soon summarized several characteristics that were shared among Pi's victims. 1. Sadistic. 2. Male. 3. Some kind of abnormal perversion. For instance, a middle-aged man who was extremely into S&M that started targeting neighborhood children. A man who always cheated on his parents and then beat them up when he ended the relationships. An elementary school principal who was a pedophile and molested his own students. Molested the students? It was as if a bomb had just gotten off in my brain. It must be because of that goddamn gossip article. You just now realized that? Are you serious? He was after me for the wrong reason. However, I had no other choice but to find him so that I could explain myself. I read the note again. I rolled up my sleeves to examine my arms. Okay, to be fair to Jimmy, I think if I remember correctly, in his story path, in the actual one that got him an S, he never actually talked to the killer that much. I think the killer sort of got washed away by the mud before he could do anything to Jimmy. And I found it. There was a tiny bluish needle mark on my left arm. Crap, there wasn't much time left. The warehouse gate had been secured by an ancient looking lock. The lock was covered with carved markings and seemed quite heavy and sturdy. There was a keyhole in the center of it. It seemed to be a challenge. To make things worse, it wasn't that I couldn't find the key. A chest had been placed right next to the gate. It was filled with keys, lots of them in all kinds of shapes. God damn it. I flipped the chest to the ground desperately. All of the keys poured out onto the ground in a chaotic flood of metal. There must be thousands of them. About half of the sand was still in the top half of the hourglass. I probably only had approximately 1 hour left. Even if I could try one key every 3 seconds, I would have only gone through less than half of these keys. However, I have no time to waste, and I had to start trying them one by one, even though I had no idea what to do next. 50 minutes had passed. I inserted another key into the keyhole, yet the goddess of fortune had never favored me ever since I was a little kid. The final grains of sand had dropped onto the small dune in the bottom half of the hourglass. Excruciating pain exploded in my chest. I couldn't even hold the key in my hand anymore. I dropped the key onto the pile. It made a clinking sound and I collapsed onto the pile. I must have completely wasted my time watching all of those crime investigation thriller movies. All I could think of right now were the scenes where the victim died. I couldn't remember even a single scene where the heroes escaped because of their intelligence. Well, Jimmy, think about it. In all of those scenes, because this is not sort of a unique idea, I've definitely seen that kind of thing before. Someone being locked in a room with a lock and being provided like a million different keys. Think about it, Jimmy. In how many of those scenes was the actual key among those keys? I can't think of one. And even if it was, there was something else that made it stand out so much that trying all of the keys one by one is never the right choice. Even if you waste a bit of time thinking about it, it's always going to be a better choice than just randomly going at it. Because, think about it again. What fun would it be for the killer to just have the right key be one of those? If you're lucky, you're going to get out. If you're not lucky, you're going to die. That's boring from the killer's perspective. What you want to do is pose a riddle of sorts so that if he actually solves the riddle, he gets to go out and you can play with him again in another riddle sometime later. And if he doesn't solve the riddle, well, he deserved to die from the killer's perspective. It was no fun anyway. It hurt so much that I curled into a ball on the ground. My mind was almost gone and I felt warmth beneath my nose. I wiped my face with my hand. Blood. It was over. I was going to die in a god-forsaken place that no one would ever know about because the psycho serial killer had got the wrong guy. Jimmy. Alright, do I get to solve the puzzle? Alright. Alright. How about this? This looks like it could be right. It was still not the right key, but I noticed something strange this time. I held the lock closer to my face and tried another key, in and out. A dim red light flashed inside the keyhole. That must be a wireless sensor. This was not a regular mechanical lock. Okay, but this is the right choice, but I need to move the 50 minutes past to the back of the queue. I took out my PDA and started scanning for nearby devices. Bluetooth, infrared, Wi-Fi, anything. Finally, I saw a server named Lock of Luck appear on my PDA screen. But I needed 50 minutes to crack the administrator password. The final grains of sand had dropped into the bottom half of the hourglass. Yep. Alright. The letters on the PDA were getting more and more blurry. I dropped the PDA onto the pile of keys. Yeah, I figured it out as soon as I realized that. Yeah. This goes down here. That should be it. The user has been granted administrative privilege. After 50 minutes, I'd finally cracked the administrator password. The lock was actually an electric lock that just looked like a mechanical one. It was connected wirelessly to a remote server named Lock of Luck through a nearby router. The server was the real key of luck. The program that controlled the lock had been set to unlock it when there had been 2,000 attempts with any key. Ah, I see. However, no one in this fucking world could do it 2,000 times in an hour. Let me think. An hour is 3,600 seconds. That would be... yeah, sort of a bit faster than every 2 seconds trying one key. It's is it doable? You'd have to really hurry and it'd be a test of stamina for 50 minutes. Or for an hour, I guess. Possible, though, I would say. When in actuality, what you should do probably is just use the same key and turn it again and again and again for 2,000 times. But now he's run out of time, so he can't do that anymore. Can you just open the lock? Hack into it? That bastard almost had me fooled. I spent a little more time... Okay, there. Time changing the 2,000 to 1 in the program and re-executed it. Now all I had to do was try it one more time and I could finally get out. However, just when I was about to insert the key into the hole, an excruciating pain exploded in my chest. I couldn't even hold the key in my hand anymore. Okay. Interesting. Damn it, I'm so close. I don't know. Wait, no, I don't need hints. What about this? No, I'm not surprised. Oh. Stupid me. Oh. The lock opened with a crisp electric beep. Yes! Thank God I hadn't been fooled by how it looked. I wiped the sweat off of my forehead with my sleeve and disconnected the wireless connection between my PDA and the lock. 50 minutes ago I'd had a sudden epiphany after trying a few keys without success. I took out my PDA and tried to scan for nearby devices. That was how I found my chance to survive. The lock was actually an electric lock that just looked like a mechanical one. It was connected wirelessly, yep. To have laid out such a trap, it could only mean one thing. Pi had secretly investigated me and knew that I was a hacker. That bastard almost had me fooled. It took me 50 minutes to crack the administrator password for the server, then I was able to find the program that controlled the lock. The setting on the program indicated that the lock would only be opened if there were 2,000 attempts. In other words, it didn't matter which key I tried. All I needed to do was to try 2,000 times with any key. However, no one in this fucking world could do it 2,000 times in an hour. Except the hacker. I pushed open the gate. The humid air and the clear night sky made me feel like I had never felt before. A paper bag was taped to the other side of the gate with a note reading Antidote 1. There's more antidotes to come. In the bag there was a syringe filled with some unknown liquid and a car key. Are you fucking kidding me? Antidote 1? That bastard. An excruciating pain exploded in my chest. I had no choice but to inject the first antidote into my arm. I had to keep going. I had to find him. I struggled to stand up, sweat all over my body, and pressed the button on the key fob. A beeping sound came from a car not too far away. The headlights blinked twice. Alright. Jumanji. Okay. I only had 4 endings. Or 4 options. Do we even have another choice other than keep going with Jimmy? I don't think we do, so that's what we're gonna do. The antidote 1 you just injected will allow you to breathe for 2 more hours. I'm waiting for you at the location marked on the map. Some smaller letters had been written below, circled by some curls. Jumanji. I almost wanted to tear the map that he had left on the steering wheel into pieces. What's wrong with this psycho? Freaking Jumanji? Referencing such an old movie? He must be an ancient freak. And I don't even have a fucking driving license. I banged my head on the steering wheel and let the horn scream out my frustration. Yet, a few minutes later, not even a bird seemed to have been disturbed, not to mention any human neighbors that might have shown up to yell at me. Fine, it was just driving, right? I'd seen it in movies. I tried to recall the controls in all of the racing games. Oh, and scenes from Initial D, of course. I stepped on the brake, shifted the gear, and turned the ignition. After a series of teeth-grinding screeches, the engine finally started. It sounded exactly like an old man with asthma. The car started to move forward slowly. I held onto the wheel for dear life, and I was able to guide it out of the warehouse. I didn't scratch the wall, nor did I bump into the electrical pole. I kept going, stopping and starting numerous times along the way. After following the map for 20 minutes, I finally began to see other cars on the road as well. It was getting more crowded around me. At first I thought that traffic had been slow simply because I'd gotten closer to the city, but I started to realize that something wasn't right. There seemed to be too few people and too many cars. I turned on the radio and the anchor happened to be reporting the news. College students are gathering on the streets to oppose the recently proposed controversial draft of the education bill. At the moment, the protesters are moving towards Mongkok. The police have arrived to maintain the peace during the protest. Several blocks are currently closed to regular traffic and impacted areas are seeing a significantly increased travel time. All drivers should remain alert to the road conditions and try to avoid these areas. A protest? An alarm went off in my head, but it was too late. This cranky old car was stuck firmly in the middle of a traffic jam. I had nowhere else to go. Temporary roadblocks had been placed at several crossings that could have been used for turning. Several police motorcycles were parked nearby, their lights blinking red and blue. The policemen were directing the traffic and the cars were moving slower than the pedestrians. If I kept going like this, I'd be dead before I got past this block. I checked the map again to confirm the route Pi had drawn. Balls, he did it on purpose. Fine, if he wanted to play Ed Gein, I would play Tourette then. I had nothing to lose. I turned the wheel full to the left and stepped on the gas as hard as I could. The car knocked the roadblocks away and continued into the street. I kept slamming the horn at the damned college students in front of me. Soon I heard sirens screaming behind me. The policemen who had just been smiling at me a few seconds ago were now coming up towards me on their bikes. If they caught up with me, I wouldn't get to restart the game. I got through the street as fast as I could and turned onto a road that I was familiar with. Finally, there were no damn protesting students. A light had just turned green 200 meters ahead of me. Very few people ever used that crossing, so the green light typically only lasted for 10 seconds. I knew this as I had to go through it every time I went to the supermarket. However, as the other direction was a truck exit off of the freeway that usually had a lot of cargo trucks, the red light would last for 1 full minute. I glanced at the speedometer. I was going 54 kilometers per hour. I had to get rid of the policeman here. I drove at the same speed for 100 meters. I stepped on the gas harder, accelerating and increasing my speed 4 times over. I drove another 100 meters. I stepped on the brake hard and reduced my speed by half. In my wildest dreams, I never thought that I would be involved in a car chase with some policemen. I definitely had not imagined that I would be driving an old piece of junk that might just fall apart at any time. Still, the engine seemed to be roaring with confidence. I felt that the car was trying to tell me that he used to be a beast too. The car and I flew over the crossing, leaving a stream of black smoke behind us. Oh crap. I'd gone too fast, too soon. The policeman had sped up after me and gotten through the green light too. I mean, would the police really stop if it was a red light? I wouldn't be able to find another chance to get rid of them later. More and more police had joined the chase. In the end, I was blocked by 2 police cars at another crossing. The blinking lights almost made me blind. I was surrounded by numerous officers and their guns. I had no choice but to step out of the car with my hands held behind my head. I got slammed onto the hot engine cover. Sir, you have the right to remain silent. Everything you say will be used. Hearing these lines that I only heard on TV and in movies did not excite me as I had expected. Then they said I'd been accused of unlawful driving, speeding, vandalism of public property, murder. Wait, murder? They brought me behind the car. The trunk was open. I saw all kinds of knives, handcuffs, shovels, and tools in it. Some of them had some sinister-looking red liquid on them. What the hell? I could imagine Pi sitting on a sofa, sipping a glass of red wine and mocking me. He must be the sickest, most devious serial killer ever. I didn't have much time left, at least not enough to convince the police that I was innocent. Sitting in the back of the car, all I could do was pray. My goddess of fortune, please show me some miracles. Jimmy. Alright. Okay, I mean... Well, what about this? In my wildest dreams, I had never thought that I would be involved in a car chase with some policemen. I definitely had not imagined that I would be driving old junk. Yep. Reality was different from video games. I couldn't make myself rush through the light like a real outlaw when it turned yellow. Jimmy, please, your life is depending on this. The sirens were still behind me. When I remembered the consequence of being caught, I bit my lip and kept driving up to the crossing when the light had just turned red. A blinding beam of light pierced the driver's side window along with the deafening scream of a car horn. I could vaguely see the shadow of a cargo truck behind the light. I heard screeching brakes, then the thud of a collision. The impact had knocked me into oblivion. The entire world had turned into a bloody red before my eyes. Pi, I swear I will haunt you for eternity. Alright. This. The light turned red just as I drove past the crossing, and a couple of cargo trucks rushed out from the other direction. The police had to stop before the crossing. Yes! I drove into another alley and finally lost them. I rushed the rest of the way as fast as I could, trying my best not to attract unnecessary attention. It had turned from a flat road to a zigzag uphill climb. There were fewer and fewer lights too. Finally, I'd reached the end of the road. It was the destination marked on the map. It had taken me an hour and a half. There was nothing else beyond the road but some woods. Would Pi be waiting in the woods? I got out of the car. Just as I was hesitating about whether or not I should call him, the theme song of my favorite game suddenly started playing in the nearby bush. I got Hong Kong Drift as an achievement. Nice. More posts from Jimmy. A wise choice.